People think Trump is the problem, but he isn't. The truth is Bush Sr., Jr., Obama, Clinton, different faces, but the same imperial ideology. Iraq, Afghanistan, Panama, Cuba, now Venezuela. The pattern never changes, only the excuses do. And it's no different in Britain or Europe. Thatcher, Blair, Starmer, all loyal partners in the American empire, providing cover, legitimacy, or silence when needed. Why? Because colonialism is in the blood and DNA of Western capitalist ideology. The only difference today really is that Trump is as brazen as it gets and doesn't pretend. While others dressed up in diplomacy, he says it outright as it exactly is. No theatre, no need for polished speeches, just raw empire. Hence, we're going to get the oil and bring it back to America. We're going to run the country. It's imperialism in its purest form. Albeit, yes, they still try the old script, stop terrorism, securities that illegal regimes, but no one is fooled. And if unilateral bombing, sanctions, and abducting President Nicolas Maduro and his wife from his home in Caracas shocked you, then buckle up, because Trump has openly signaled interest in Mexico, Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, Iran, even Canada. So who knows who is next? This is the pinnacle of colonialism, imperialism, which has all been exposed and we all know it. But the real question isn't what is Imperial America doing? The real question is, what are we going to do about it? Because if it isn't confronted, it won't stop here. So before asking how imperialism is stopped, we must first understand why it exists. And let's be honest, this isn't complicated. It was never about democracy, never about human rights, and never about freedom. I think we're all in agreement with this. For imperial powers, it's always been about control, controlling oil, minerals, trade routes, and strategic waterways. And Trump didn't even bother hiding it. On multiple occasions, he openly stated that Venezuela was about oil, toppling Maduro to seize control of the largest proven oil reserves on earth. And Venezuela isn't unique. Venezuela's oil, Africa's minerals, Pakistan's gold, copper and lithium, Somalia and the Red Sea's trade routes. Different countries, the same imperial greed. Where there is wealth, America and its European allies bring sanctions, coups, proxy wars, debt traps and military bases, then call it security, stability and freedom. Because broken, divided states are easier to control, easier to loot, easier to manipulate and easier to keep dependent. While Western corporations extract the wealth, the people are left with poverty, bloodshed and permanent instability. And now the pretense is over. There was a time when Western powers at least pretended to follow rules, talking about international law, human rights, United Nations resolutions, not because they actually believed in them, but to pacify their public opinion. This so-called rules-based order was always a lie. Now it has completely collapsed. The United States has invaded countries without the UN approval. Iraq, Afghanistan points to note. Starved entire populations through sanctions. Iraq, Iran, Venezuela. Kidnapped or removed leaders from Manuel Noriega to CIA renditions, and has backed genocide, openly shielding the Zionists in Gaza. It's destroyed states and destabilized regions, Libya, Somalia, Syria, etc. And today, it doesn't even bother hiding its intentions and its ambitions, openly threatening Iran, eyeing Greenland, pressurizing Mexico, Cuba, and even Canada. This is the new rule. Or rather, the old one revived. Might is right. International law, United Nations Charter, Geneva Conventions, accountability, useless, irrelevant, died, buried, pointless, compromise from inception. So the question becomes, who will stop Imperial America? How do you stop a bully drunk on power and greed that recognizes no law, no limits, no accountability? Institutions won't, because the UN is paralyzed by veto. International law is flawed by design. Western governments are accomplices to the crimes. So when power controls the rules, appealing to the rules is meaningless. This is when history gives us an answer. What many now commentators are calling a Vietnam moment is not a slogan but a warning. Vietnam didn't end because the system worked. It didn't. It ended because people made the war impossible to continue. Millions took to the streets. Students shut down universities. Workers disrupted economies. Journalists exposed lies. And soldiers refused to fight an unjust war. The cost just became too high politically, economically, and socially. And this is how empires retreat. Not through awareness alone, not through moral outrage alone, not through hashtags and statements alone, but when empires become ungovernable. Boycotts, campus shutdowns, labor disruption, refusal to fight colonial wars, mass sustained pressure. When people move together, empires are forced to step back, and Vietnam proved this. And today with Gaza, Yemen, Venezuela and beyond, we are approaching that moment again. Even Vietnam did not end imperialism. It stopped one war, but the system that produced it survived. Capitalism lived on, and with it came Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Gaza, Yemen, Venezuela. This is the reality. The current world order was designed by the victors, and it is structured to protect the very imperial powers, not to restrain them. As for the Arab and Muslim regimes, they will not challenge America. They are financially, militarily, and politically dependent upon the system. Their survival, their wealth, security, legitimacy comes from Washington. And as for the so-called rivals like Russia and China, they do not oppose the empire. They simply seek their own version of it. So the question becomes deeper than protest. Movements can weaken an empire, but only a system can replace it. History offers us a proven alternative, the Islamic Caliphate, not a perfect past, but a real civilizational challenger, a system that confronted the greatest empires of its age, the Byzantium and Persia, without adopting their imperial logic. Unlike systems built upon conquest and extraction, the Caliphate was rooted in rule of law over rule of force, accountability of rulers, equality before the law, and justice as an obligation. This was not a theory. A caliph could be taken to court and lose. Governors were removed for injustice. Non-Muslims lived under legal protection, not forced assimilation. The Islamic ruling system stands alone in history as a global political order that rejected the principle might is right. It challenged empires without becoming one. And that is why the call for the caliphate never disappeared. Not out of nostalgia, but out of necessity. Not because his history was perfect, but because no other system has ever offered a moral, political, a global alternative to imperial domination. So the real question is no longer whether imperial America should be challenged, but rather what can it be replaced with? And the case for the Islamic Caliphate and Islam has never been stronger.